And our guest today is Gina Leguria of the law firm of Gina Leguria, and she's going to talk about protecting you and your family and your business. And the first thing I wanted to say to Gina is, how you doing, Gina?
I'm fantastic, Justin. How are you?
And we got Gina in studio today, which is really cool. Yay,
Yes.
post-pandemic.
Yay.
So before we get started, I actually wanted to talk to you. You're actually my success story, and this is what I want for all the guests that I have on the show. You got a client from our show.
I did. Yeah, as I shared with you, I had a gentleman who watched our video, and he was surfing the internet and came across the video that you and I did on the Small Business Voice and watched it all the way to the end, and he called and made an appointment the next day. And I am proud to say that we are signing his family's plan this week even.
Oh, wow. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So thank you.
And
What a great success.
and that's what I want, and you made you put an investment into my show and you got 10 times back, something like that.
Absolutely.
And that's that's what Liberty and I, that's one of our goals is for you guys to get your investment back and then some.
Yes.
So you're my success story, and I will shout you out to the heavens as much as I can.
Well, we appreciate that.
And
Yes.
Justin, aren't you also a client?
I am a client, yes, and I just got I think I just have everything payable to my trust now.
Fantastic.
I got that done yesterday.
Good.
One of
Nice.
the pages Jack and I faxed didn't go through, but we got that taken care of. So
I'm glad to hear
yes.
that.
Those darn fax machines
Oh,
with
man.
technology
I
today,
know.
you would think that it would get better, but hey, it's still
Well,
what it is. What it is.
I think they want you to scan everything now and then send it over. I think the fax things are kind of
Yeah.
going, away.
They
But-
want it all.
So, what are things for us to prepare for this coming year?
Well, it's actually still pretty timely, Justin, because in a lot of ways, we're still coming out of that COVID hibernation, that long, dark period of sleep and rest. And now everybody is getting back in the game and has a lot of energy, and they all have things on their to-do list. And this is pretty timely because we just got through tax day, which this year was April 18th. So now that has passed, it's a great time to look at doing your estate plan and simple things like updating beneficiaries and making sure the right people are still going to inherit your estate when you pass away, because death still isn't optional. It's
No.
it's 100% guaranteed it's going to happen to all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, your goal is to avoid probate court. So some people, they may look at a trust and see the price and get scared away. Is that safe to say?
Sometimes that happens, yeah.
But
yeah.
but the thing that people don't realize is the cost of probate court, the other option.
Yeah, the horrible option. So probate court costs roughly 3 to 4% of the gross asset value. So the court doesn't care or take into account the fact that you might have a mortgage loan. They only look at what's the value of your property on the day that you die, fair market value. And they have their own appraiser that sets that value. So it's everything gross value, and that's how the 3 to 4% is calculated.
So so going to probate court, what are people usually looking at? Well, actually, why don't you tell your story really quick, because you went through that, and that's why you became a lawyer.
I did. Yeah, thanks for asking, because I like to share this. So my dad was killed in an auto accident at the age of 42, and nobody plans for that to happen. So he left behind the three of us, my brother, my sister, and myself, and my sister was only 12 years old. So we, unfortunately, because of the complexity of the things that he had going on with a small business and a house, and he was a part-time cattle rancher, we spent 4.5 years in the probate court. And when all that was said and done, the agony, the tears, the heart-wrenching decisions that had to be made, there really wasn't anything left. There was just a tiny bit of money. Most of it went to the courts and the attorneys and settling things. So that was very sad. And I made it my mission right then and there to go to law school and become an estate planning attorney.
Well, thank you for doing that, Gina. Thank you for educating all of us, and we really do appreciate that. So a lot of people think that if you have a will, that's going to be enough. And we had the conversation off air about, I have a friend of mine that thinks he's going to be in Hawaii, and he thinks it's going to be fine. A lot of people have the misconception that California is like an oddball, which we are. But is that will enough to avoid probate court?
Well, certainly not in California, and in a lot of states that's the same case. So a will, well, that's a great start of writing down what your directions are and how you want things to go. That will still has to go to court. So there's still a judge, and there's still the court process involved, and appraisers, and so that takes a very long time. Right now in Stanislaus County, it averages about 14 to 18 months. And if you're up in San Joaquin County, we're looking at about 18 months to 2 years. The courts are just still really backlogged, and it takes us 4 and 5 months out to get hearing dates. So a will are great instructions, but the judge in the court process still kicks in, and we spend a lot of time there and a lot of money there.
Oh, man.
Well, we're here talking with Gina Leguria about protecting you, your family, and your business. You can contact Gina Leguria at 209-416-0353, or you can email her, Gina at legurialaw.com, and that's LEGURIALAW.com. I'm here with Justin Duncan, and you're listening to the Small Business Voice on Power Talk 1360 KFIV. So I am just at this conclusion here, Gina, that we got to have a trust. And you have met with me and my partner, and we are going to be some of your next clients. So I'm excited that we don't have to have a long, drawn-out court debate, when we are leaving our legacy to our family. So I appreciate your education because, we only know what we know. And you taught me that I don't know a lot about leaving my assets up to the government. And I don't want that for my family. So thank you so much for educating us and being committed. And your story is, although it's sad, the outcome with how, minimal of the estate was left, it really was a catalyst for you to be who you are today. So that is the treasure there. So,
well, thank you, Liberty.
Yes.
I told her to say that. Okay, maybe I didn't. I was trying to take credit, Liberty.
Well, we did have our pre-meeting with you, but, moving forward, getting the trust done, is that an overwhelming process? What does that look like?
Yeah, it really doesn't have to be an overwhelming process. And I completely understand these are tough topics. Thinking about death and dying and taxes and your children not growing up with you in their lives. But we need to plan for every eventuality, especially, if COVID taught me one thing, tomorrow is not promised. Mm-hmm. And so we need to have a solid plan in place. And it's not overwhelming at all. You can ask Justin. I try to boil it down to, okay, if you're gone or something happens, who's going to be in charge? Mm-hmm. And then we just need an inventory of your assets. So what is your stuff? What is your legacy? What are you passing on? And because you just got through tax season, you probably have all that information in a big folder somewhere, just sitting there on your dining room table or, tossed on the kitchen cabinet or something like that. So you're 90% there in terms of being organized. And then finally, where do you want it to go? Who gets it? Your kids, and in what percentages and in what ages, especially when you have minor children. You want to plan for their care and who's going to take care of them physically, but then also who's going to manage all those finances for them when you're gone.
Right. Wow. That is a lot to think about, but it sounds like you have thought of everything and we just need to give you the information. So that's great. If we do have a trust, should we be naming our kids as the beneficiaries?
Yes. If you have a trust, that's the perfect place to name children as beneficiaries because then the trustee manages that on their behalf. If you fail to do that, though, let's say, here's what I see a lot in my practice. Mom and dad come in and they have a big life insurance policy. And they name the spouse first, each other, of course. But then they name these tiny little children as the backup beneficiary in equal shares. Well, guess what? That's going to court. If mom and dad are wiped out, now somebody has to go to court and file for guardianship and then claim that money on behalf of the minor children. So don't name minor children as beneficiaries. Put it in a trust, have a competent adult manage it for them as trustee, and then they get it through the trust in accordance with your directions and wishes and not the court's.
So you can contact Gina Leguria at 209-416-0353 and at Gina@legurialaw.com.
Be sure to connect with us on the web, smallbusinessvoicemedia.com and libertybrand.biz. Also, go to our Facebook page and be sure to click the like button on Small Business Voice Media and tell us what you would like me and Justin to discuss on a future show. And also, if you are wanting to be a guest, if you're a small business owner, we want to hear your expertise and your wisdom. But for now, we have Gina with Gina Leguria Law Firm. We are so excited to have you back on now for the third time.
So what are some of the common bottlenecks you try to avoid while working with your clients?
Well, the age-old problem of procrastination.
That's something I'm good at, though.
You actually were pretty good, Justin. We stayed on top of things. But we give our clients a checklist of items and decisions that we need. And a lot of times they leave our office and we don't hear from them for several weeks. So we try to build in a follow-up system. And sometimes that means just bringing them in for another sit-down and having that focus time, because I find if it's on somebody's calendar, it happens. And it's not that they haven't thought about what they wanted to do, but perhaps they are just paralyzed by the thought of, who's going to take care of my children? Who's going to get my money? And so we bring them in, we sit down, and we walk through those decisions together and talk about the options and the unique situation for that family.
And I see you every week, too. So
you do see me, and I stayed on top of it. Justin, where's your list? Justin.
That's right. So how do families know if a trust is right for them? What qualifies an ideal family to enter into a trust?
Well, right now in the state of California, a small estate, the limit just went up this year, is $184,500. So if you have below that, we may not need to do a probate at all. But if you have real property involved, so that can mean a lot somewhere, an empty lot, a share of a commercial building, your personal residence. Really, if you own any type of real property in the state of California, you should seriously be considering a trust. If you have minor children, you should be considering a trust, because if you don't, then anything they inherit from you would have to go not only to probate court, but also through a guardianship proceeding. And you get the double whammy, if you will.
Yeah, we don't want that for anybody.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare having lived through that. As I mentioned, my story, my 12-year-old sister. Well, there had to be a guardianship proceeding for anything of her share, however little it was.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So what is a good age for somebody to start preparing their family's trust? So I was 46 when I got mine done, so that's probably a little bit too late in life, but when do you really want to start focusing on that?
Well, I tell folks, again, it doesn't matter what age. If you own real property, you should consider a trust.
Okay.
If you're a small business owner, you really should consider a trust. If you have a unique situation in your life, maybe a blended family, maybe a partner in life, and Liberty, I know we've talked. You want to have things set up to take care of all those eventualities, because the law is not favorable for most families in probate court. Very expensive, time-consuming, as I mentioned. So any age, really. But I had a client in the other day, 92, and he was ready this time.
Oh, wow.
So Justin, you were about half of that amount.
Yes.
So you're ahead of the curve in that regard.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad about that.
Yeah. So I do notary on the side, and I go to some of these estate plannings, and some of the people I'm helping them sign their plans are really old. And so, they're like, the number one thing I hear from them is they wish they would have done this a lot sooner.
Yes, you would be surprised. when people, when they really sit down and reflect on it, how much this is weighing on them. Mm-hmm. Just how this feels like 1,000-pound weight around their neck. And I have to tell you, one of the true blessings and honor in my business is once that trust is in place and the sigh of relief and just the pain and the agony of worry just comes off their face, and those hugs at the end when they sign I don't know if you get those, Liberty, when you do a signing, but
I do.
People are just so thankful, and they want to give you a hug. And I get chocolates, I get flowers, I get homemade muffins, I got fresh peaches from one of my farmers. And so,
nice.
So this truly is a blessed business and helping families carry on their legacy in the way that they want.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's actually a really beautiful thing. And I had the honor of helping sign one of your clients, and they spoke nothing but praises for you. And I was like, yes, absolutely. She deserves that. So we're here talking with Gina Leguria about protecting you, your family, and your business. You can contact attorney Gina Leguria at 209-416-0353. And you can also email her, gina@legurialaw.com. I'm here with Justin Duncan, and you're listening to Liberty Santiago on the Small Business Voice Power Talk 1360 KFIV. Gina, we got a couple more questions for you. You've been so good at giving us just some expert advice and being there for us and the community. We were just talking about how much your clients love you and praise you. So that really stands out to me,
Well, thank you. Yeah.
So could you give us an example of a client that you have helped out recently?
Yes. And these ones always break my heart. The folks who get a bad diagnosis and they've done no planning, and there's a major surgery scheduled in a week, 2 weeks. To me, that's a crisis situation. And so we try to prioritize those folks and get their plans done quickly. It's not the ideal situation, but before COVID, I actually would do hospital calls and go into the local hospitals to sign people's plans. That's a little more difficult now, but we make accommodations and arrangements and get really creative in how we get a plan in place for someone maybe who is facing a very bad medical situation. And again, they can be wheeled into the OR with just one less thing weighing on them. And that's just truly a gift. Again, as difficult it is for them, I feel like we've helped give them a peace of mind so that they can take all their energy and fight whatever is going on with them.
Right. Yes. Oh my goodness. That is certainly not the place that you want to meet your clients at, but that you're willing to do that is really powerful and important too. So love that. And most people do want protection, but I believe that they don't know that a trust can help them, or that they don't believe it can help them. Like Justin had mentioned his friend in Hawaii who thinks a will is good enough. But, the main reason for preparing trusts, what is that?
Well, really, there's a main reason in California, and that's probate, of course, and the cost of probate and the time involved with that. I talked about that. But also, if you're a family with a unique situation, minor children, special needs beneficiaries, maybe you have an adult child who has some special needs or some challenges, and they can't manage a sum of money, and so you want somebody to take care of that for them because you don't want to cut them out. Right. You want a place for them to live, and you rely on their siblings, the brothers and sisters, to step up and do that. And what I see in a lot of families is they will totally disinherit the child with special needs and cut them out of everything and leave all the money to the brother and sister and just expect that they will take care of them. And while that happens in a lot of cases, there are those where it does not. And so we can plan for that. We can plan for special needs and allow those children to keep their benefits and their safety net, but still have something to rely on as they carry on without you.
Yeah, that's super important that you have thought of that and that you see that and that you prepare for that.
Gina, you're actually a real superhero. You know that?
I don't know about that.
No. And the reason why I say that is because you help people protect their assets, and you take the worry out of it. And it's people like you that are actually really the heroes.
Well, thank you, Justin. I think there's truer heroes out there, but if we can give somebody just a little bit of solace and a little bit of comfort, then we've done our job well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
And then for the small business owner, how does a trust actually protect them?
That's a great question, Liberty. And I know that as small business owners, you and Justin both, we've had these conversations. So one of the things we also work with small business owners on is having a separate legal entity or identity for their business, like an LLC or an S Corp, or in some instances a C Corp, because then that protects or essentially shields those assets for your business separate from your personal. And then your trust can simply own your shares of your business or own the LLC. So there is a way to pass on that business as your legacy, but not really commingle it with all of your personal things. As a sole proprietor, there's a lot of risk involved with that.
Right.
So just having those two sort of separate boxes of business and personal, very important for a small business owner.
Yeah, Michelle and I are going to be working on that soon.
Excellent.
Yes. So what resources do you have for people who want more information?
I have a website that I'm really proud of, done by a gentleman, a good friend, Mike McCarn of McCarn Designs. And he would be a great guest for your show, by the way.
Yes.
We're trying to get him on, actually, because he did my website, too.
Fantastic.
Yes.
He does a great job.
So there is a plethora of resources, a wealth of information talking about probate and trusts and disability planning and planning for minor children and why we need powers of attorney. I should mention, we don't just want to take care of your family when you're gone, but if you're alive and you become incapacitated for any reason, think in the hospital, COVID on a ventilator, who's going to pay your bills? Who's going to file your taxes? Who's going to take care of all those things in your life that still need to get done? And that's why the power of attorney is so important. So go to our website, legurialaw.com, LEGURIALAW.com.
I think we're getting long on time, but I just want to say this one last thing. Is I actually have a friend of mine that was in a coma for 4 months.
Wow.
I actually referred him over to Jennifer Fortune, because right now he's had to pay out of pocket for his medical expenses.
Yes.
And that's not right. You shouldn't be doing that. But nobody thinks that they're going to go down. People don't think about that.
Yes.
But he might be a referral I get for you in a little
There
bit.
you go.
Yeah. So
Well, you can contact Gina Leguria at 209-416-0353 and at gina@legurialaw.com. We have had her back now 3 times. That is amazing.
3 times, and the show has paid off for her. I mean, that's the one thing that just makes me happy. That's what our business is meant to do, is to pay off for other businesses.
Yeah, and it's cool too to have people that we do business with come on the show also, because first of all, they're vetted out. I mean, if we're doing business with them, then clearly they're amazing
absolutely.
people.
Yeah.
And you're a client of Gina's. I'm also in talks and works of becoming her client as well.
Yeah. Two of my favorite people too are Ron Godey and Anna Felix.
Yes.
And I like the fact that you do business with Anna and I do business with Ron.
I know, that
is
is pretty cool, huh?
And I love them both.
I do too.
Yeah, they're just both awesome people.
Yes.
So connect with us on the web, smallbusinessvoicemedia.com and libertybrand.biz. And send us a message on our Facebook page. Click the like button on Small Business Voice Media and tell us what you would like Liberty and I to discuss on a future show.